Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are strapping on the nostalgia goggles. We're
Hmm.
asking something I think is genuinely profound.
Okay.
Why, after decades of these stunning leaps in tech, 8K graphics, huge open worlds, ray tracing that makes stuff look real, why do we still find such deep comfort in those, you know, chunky old games from 20, 30, even 40 years ago?
It's a great question. Really is.
Yeah, and most people kind of write it off, right? This is sentimentality. But we think there's more to it. If something groups millions like this
Mhm.
across generations, well, there's usually some science behind it. We're
Definitely.
trying to dig past that simple, oh, I miss being a kid thing.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Our mission today is really to move beyond just saying nostalgia and extract the genuine science,
Hmm.
the psychology, what's actually powering this enduring draw.
Yeah.
We want to show you that going back to these digital worlds isn't just, escapism. It's actually a pretty profound function of memory and identity maintenance. It's almost like a necessary ritual.
Okay, let's unpack that. Let's dive right into the experience itself. Think back. You fire up an emulator, maybe dig out an old console.
Mm-hmm.
That startup screen flickers, that specific little jingle plays, and bam, you're instantly somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's more than just the thought popping in your head. It feels like you've physically time traveled for a second.
Hmm.
Maybe you even remember the light in the room or, I don't know, the smell of the console heating up.
That holistic thing, that's exactly it. That's what we need to focus on. Psychologists actually have a term for this reaction, autobiographical memory retrieval.
Okay, autobiographical memory retrieval. Sounds technical.
It is, a bit. But basically, these are memories that combine the facts, like, the layout of Hyrule Field or where the warp pipes are in Mario.
The what?
Exactly, the what.
Mm-hmm.
But they combine it with sensory info and, crucially, emotional information
Mm-hmm.
from the time you first made that memory.
So the game itself is like an anchor for a much bigger, more complex memory file in your head.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah, an anchor is a great way to put it. Sensory triggers could be the feel of that old D-pad, could be the specific blocky look of 8-bit colors. They don't just reactivate what you remember about the game.
Uh-huh.
Critically, they reactivate how you felt at that specific point in your life.
Oh, wow.
So when our brains engage with those early kind of simple graphics, we're not just recalling the pixels, you're actively recalling who you were then.
Oh.
You remember maybe the constraints you had or didn't have, the friends you played with, maybe that lack of heavy responsibility, those endless seeming summer days, that feeling of possibility,
Yeah.
before life got, complicated.
Okay, that's where it gets really, really interesting for me. It's not just looking back at the past. It's looking back at your past self.
Exactly.
So every time you load that old save file or you hit continue, it's like a little portal. It's
Yeah.
taking you into a specific remembered version of you that felt maybe safe, competent.
And that's a really powerful tool, isn't it? Especially when you're an adult. And, the boundaries of who you are can feel a bit fluid or uncertain sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, speaking of powerful tools, let's talk about the most obvious trigger. The sound. The music.
Oh, definitely.
You don't even need to be playing the game. I could just hum 2 bars of the Green Hill Zone theme from Sonic.
Instantly know it.
Or that little fanfare when you open a chest in Zelda or Final Fantasy. And you, listening right now, you probably felt a jolt, right? A pure specific emotion.
And that jolt is, it's largely thanks to what we could maybe call the emotional architecture of old game sound.
Emotional architecture, I like that.
Yeah, you have to remember the severe technical limits those early composers were under. We're talking 8 sound channels, 16 maybe.
Right, tiny amounts of memory. Compressed data.
Exactly. They had to express whole worlds, high-stakes action, deep emotion using just that. They didn't have orchestras, no complex lyrics.
No Hans Zimmer back then. Just beeps and boops,
Yeah.
essentially.
But they had pure melody, pure rhythm. Because they couldn't rely on big arrangements or fancy production, they were kind of forced to distill the emotional core of the scene down to its most basic, its most fundamental melodic shape.
So the limitation actually became a strength.
Absolutely. That forced abstraction, that's the genius, I think. These pure, emotionally precise little tunes, they basically wired themselves directly into our limbic system, our emotional memory center.
Because there was nothing else getting in the way. No distractions.
Pretty much. The music became inseparable from the feeling. The joy of jumping on a Goomba, the tension of a boss fight, the sort of melancholy of exploring a new area.
Okay, so let's connect that back. When we hear those sounds now, Decades later, they're not just entertaining us, they're acting almost like a form of self-soothing.
That's a really good way to put it, yeah. The sound confirms that joy can still be simple, that the emotional landscape we navigated as kids, it's still accessible somewhere inside us.
It's like a baseline reminder.
It is. Modern game soundtracks are often incredible, but dense, right? Complex. These old chiptunes, they're transparent. They remind us of that simplicity. And, when you're stressed or overwhelmed, simple, clear, emotional data, that's often what your brain craves to kind of stabilize itself.
So that little four-note melody is carrying like decades of emotional weight, almost like a digital lullaby you can call up.
Precisely.
Okay, now let's talk about something that feels, well, almost the opposite of a safe, soothing space. The challenge.
Ah, yes.
Man, old games were hard, like brutally hard sometimes. 3 lives, maybe no continues, definitely no checkpoints half the time, 0 hand-holding. You didn't just finish them.
You conquered them. You earned it.
You really did.
And that difficulty, that struggle, it's absolutely crucial to the emotional bond we form with these games. Think about it. The higher the perceived challenge, the greater the neurological reward when you finally overcome
It
it.
makes sense.
When you spent maybe weeks trying to beat that one boss, Bowser, Dracula, Dr. Wily, whoever it was for you, finally winning, wasn't just, triggering some code in the game.
No, it felt huge.
It was a moment of profound personal validation. It proved something to yourself.
Yeah, it proved persistence worked. It proved you were competent, even as a kid.
Exactly. So when we go back now, decades later, and we tackle that same tough level or boss, it's kind of like a form of redemption almost.
Redemption.
You're chasing that same potent spark you felt back then, where your persistence finally met victory. It becomes this, low-stakes proving ground for your own continuing capability.
I see.
You prove to yourself, hey, I'm still capable of this focus, this determination, this win. And that's actually an immensely reassuring feeling when adult life often feels, overwhelmingly complex, with no clear win conditions sometimes.
That's a great framing. It shifts it away from just being about avoidance, doesn't it? It's not avoiding adult challenges.
No.
It's more like sharpening the tools you need for them by engaging in a familiar, achievable challenge first.
Precisely. You're practicing competence.
Okay, and that leads perfectly into the emotional flip side of that challenge coin. Constancy. Familiarity.
Comfort zone.
Exactly. In a world that feels like it's constantly changing, tech shifts every few months, culture evolves daily, even our own identities can feel kind of fluid. Replaying these old games gives you this profound sense of constancy, stability.
Absolutely. You know exactly where every secret mushroom is hidden. You know the timing of that jump sequence, the physics engine, such as it was, never ever changes.
Right. It's a safe space. It's like a little digital home you can go back to where you know all the rules, you're the master, and the environment is totally predictable.
And that predictability is incredibly grounding for the brain because fundamentally predictability equals safety for our brains. Think of it like cognitive comfort food.
Cognitive comfort food. I like that too.
When everything else feels like it's moving too fast or it's too chaotic, this little digital corner of the universe, it plays the exact same way it did 30 years ago. It acts as this immovable reference point in a shifting world.
Okay, let's really unpack this now with some hard science. We've talked psychology, memory. Let's get into the neuroscience. You mentioned earlier, nostalgia isn't just a feeling, it's a chemical reaction. What's actually happening in our brains?
Right. So when we get that feeling of warm, grounded familiarity from these games, we're triggering a really powerful, specific cocktail of neurochemicals.
Okay.
Primarily, you're looking at the release of dopamine and oxytocin.
The usual suspects. Dopamine is the reward one, right?
Exactly. Dopamine is our classic reward chemical. It's linked to pleasure, motivation, satisfaction. And, these retro games, they're almost perfectly designed dopamine delivery systems.
Oh, so?
Because the reward loops are so simple, clear, and immediate. You jump, you stomp the enemy, you get the coin, instant little dopamine hit. There's no ambiguity.
Yep.
Task, reward, repeat.
Okay, that makes sense for the fun factor. But what about the oxytocin? I usually associate that more with bonding, social connection, hugs.
Yeah, and that's actually key here for the comfort aspect. Oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone or cuddle chemical, and it gives us that feeling of being grounded, safe, and seen.
Seen. Interesting.
Well, seen by ourselves, in a way. Retro experiences don't just trigger the dopamine, the yay, I won feeling. They also trigger oxytocin, the I belong, I'm safe feeling. because those memories are often intrinsically tied to positive social experiences from back then, playing with siblings, friends, family.
Or even just feeling connected to your younger self who felt competent playing it.
Exactly. It's a form of self-connection, too. So when our brains are craving familiarity, maybe during stressful or uncertain times, this chemical release essentially tells us internally, this is okay, this is a good place, you're safe here, you belong here.
Wow. So looking at it that way, we're basically giving ourselves a chemical hug from our younger self, using the game as the conduit. It's like validating our own history.
That's a fantastic way to put it. And it connects directly to this idea of identity continuity. Nostalgia, chemically speaking, isn't just about feeling good. It's a mechanism our brain uses to ensure that the person we are now and the person we were back then share a common valuable thread. It proves that the hands holding the controller today are the same hands, the eyes watching the screen are the same eyes, and maybe that fundamental need for joy, for play, for achievement, that's constant too.
It counters that feeling you sometimes get that your life is just a series of completely unrelated chapters.
Precisely. It provides a more cohesive narrative of self across time.
Okay, so let's synthesize this. If we bring together the memory, the emotion, the sound, the challenge, the constancy, the brain chemistry, what's the big takeaway? These games that raised us, they're not just disposable software. They're what? Like powerful artifacts of identity.
They absolutely are. Artifacts of identity is perfect. And I think the most powerful shift in perspective we can offer here is this. Replaying these childhood games is not regression. It's not going backwards like people sometimes assume.
Right.
It is fundamentally a ritual.
A ritual.
Yeah. A ritualistic way to maintain your identity continuity, to remember where that feeling of competence comes from, to check in with yourself and basically say, I remember this. I still care about that part of my life. I'm still me.
Wow.
And crucially, every time you pick up that controller again, you're not really escaping reality. You are actually quite profoundly reconnecting with it, reconnecting with the constants, the core joys, the foundations that formed you.
That is. Yeah, that's a really powerful distinction. Integrating the past, not just running away to it.
Exactly.
Okay. So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's maybe one last thought for you, the listener, to kind of mull over next time you load up one of those classics. Maybe we keep going back to these old worlds, not just to relive the past exactly,
Yeah.
but maybe, just maybe, to make peace with it. Interesting.
To visit those simpler worlds just long enough to consciously collect the best parts of who we were back then. You know, that persistence, that simple capacity for joy, that feeling that anything was possible, and then intentionally integrate those strengths into the person you are right now. Wonder doesn't really die, does it?
Doesn't seem like it.
It just kind of waits to be rediscovered every single time you hit that start button.